Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. It is Wednesday, September 10th. I'm sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. Had to get some stuff ready, but we are live. It is 5:49 a.m. for me in Vegas from the West Coast. But we're live, and the past 24 hours have been kind of crazy, to say the least, between two companies. One that we all know very well, Robinhood, and the announcements they made last night that we will be talking about, which has caused this stock to hit $119.67 in the pre-market. Last night, it almost hit 122. It's up about 1% right here. We are going to see how the market thinks of those announcements in the next 40 minutes when the actual market opens, and what the essentially paradigm-shifting features that Vlad offered last night to the marketplace will conceptualize for what it means for Robinhood's valuation. I think, my personal price target end of year was 120. I think we should be able to get there. Based on what Vlad announced, TLDR, he crushed it, and there's some pretty game-changing features that I think are going to be quite incredible for Robinhood, and we'll talk about that. But then, before Robinhood earnings, or Robinhood's event, he had Oracle earnings. Oracle is up over $200 billion in market cap in less than 24 hours. It is up $77 a share, 318, which is actually an all-time high. Last night it was at 315, and before last night it was at like 305, so it spiked in the overnight markets. And the reason for that is because they reported backlog growth of RPO, remaining performance obligations, of 359%. Now, either Oracle's lying and Oracle's just like completely feeding us nonsense, or these numbers that Oracle is putting out with cloud revenue expectations of $32 billion, $73 billion, $114 billion, and $144 billion over the next 4 years is real. It means that all the hyperscalers are going to experience not the exact same proportionate level of growth, but some pretty massive level of growth. The reason why Google cracked 240 yesterday is because Google, there was a bunch of articles basically claiming out that Google said $58 billion of revenue for cloud in the next 4 years is what you should expect, which is massive levels of growth for Google. That's why it's at all-time highs right here at 240. And if all the hyperscalers are spending this well, or are performing this well on cloud, if Oracle is able to put up these numbers on cloud, all of it goes back to NVIDIA right here at 176, which is why NVIDIA is trying to get back to all-time highs of 3.34% in the pre-markets. But another reason why we're pumping outside of Oracle and Robinhood is, and this is our first topic that we'll get right into, which, I mean, my goodness, could you ask for better data from this? PPI, 2.6 versus 3.3 expected. That's big. That's big. Core PPI, 2.8 versus 3.5 expected. I mean, this is pretty incredible. So we'll get into Oracle, we'll get into Hood and all that stuff, but PPI, which I kind of forgot we even had this morning, tomorrow's going to be CPI. Usually they do CPI before PPI, but this time we got PPI first. And PPI is kind of a leading indicator that CPI is going to be good, because if producers have to pay less, then that means consumers should likely pay less. I mean, dude, that's a big deal, because the last PPI we had was horrendous. It was at like 3.5% on the monthly and 3.7% on core. Now it's not only down from last month, it is way down against expectations, which is why the market's mooning, because you got a labor market that's getting weak, which is why Powell's going to cut. But then you have inflation that's coming down, which is why Powell cutting is not going to be stagflationary, because you don't have some rampant inflation, even though the labor market's coming down. And it's almost the best scenario you could imagine. Rate cuts on a labor market that's weak, so there's a reason to cut. There's a reason to stimulate. But then inflation that's not going to the moon, so there's not some reason to not create a continuous rate cutting cycle, because inflation is cooperating even with the cutting aspect of the economy. By the way, it looks like Nebius just did a share offering. You guys are showing that right now. You got down 5%. I think they can go down 5% after going up 40%, so it doesn't seem like that's that big of a deal. Probably makes sense for them to raise some cash right now. Their stock went up 40% in a day. So not raising cash would probably be a less smart thing to do. $2 billion of convertible notes. $2 billion, $1 billion converts in 2030, $1 billion converts in 2032. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. That is not that big of a deal to see that start to come down. Yeah, and maybe for PPI, again, we got to get some more analysis on what's going on with PPI. But instantly, when I saw that news, to me, I was like, okay, tariffs might be a one-time thing. tariffs might actually be a one-time thing. Because again, PPI in August was really nasty, but the S&P 500 barely moved. You guys remember that day? I think it was like mid-August. It was a really bad print on PPI. S&P was flat throughout the entire day. Now you've got a really good print, which is why I think the market's up a lot in the pre-markets and kind of factoring in that there's not going to be some massive stagflationary cycle. But it also means, what if next month is also going to be really good? The month after that's also going to be really good. And tariffs really were a one-time thing. I mean, like, there's got to be some better explanation for what's going on with PPI's relationship to tariffs, which also means CPI's relationship with tariffs won't be as bad as people are expecting. And that's a really good thing for the broader economy as well. Yeah, big drop in services PPI to 1.95% year over year from 2.49%. I mean, dude, it's really hard to look at this PPI number and be like, there is something that J-Powell should be very scared about. In fact, the probability of a rate cut for 50 basis points, because we did see the job numbers yesterday, came in at 911,000. That means in 2024, 911,000 jobs were fake. And they, every time we got excited for a good jobs report, you had to scratch off 900,000 jobs because it wasn't real. So almost 1 million jobs last year that we created were not real, based on what the BLS said. There is now a 10.2% chance of a 50 basis point cut and a 90% chance of a 25 basis point cut. We're definitely getting 25 bips. Who knows? Maybe good CPI, good PPI, horrible labor market. Maybe we don't get 50, but it gets J-Powell to be more likely to give us 75 by the end of the year, and that would be very good for equities as well. So there you go. Not too bad in the context of PPI. All right, cool. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We got a lot of news to cover again. PPI was the first thing that we looked at. It just came out like 10 minutes ago, and that is kind of really why I think the market's getting a bit of a surge. Where is S&P? And then we'll get into Hood and Oracle. S&P 653.80. Wow, all-time highs on the S&P. Palantir as well. I mean, talk about this move. It was up 5% yesterday. It's up 3% right now, 167.62. There's, I think, a $20 million deal they signed with a company in the UK. I don't think that deal is really why Palantir is getting the momentum. Quite frankly, I think the reason it's pumping right now is because of Oracle. Palantir is a massive partner with Oracle. Oracle signing these many cloud contracts likely, or having this much backlog, likely means that Palantir is going to see a lot of business as well. Same thing with NVIDIA, AMD, all the semiconductor names. So we'll talk more about Oracle, but I think that is the reason for why Palantir is getting this momentum. And then Palantir is a growth stock. And if we have rate cuts coming, that is really good for growth stocks. Tesla right here at 351. And then you got Hoodie at 119.75 that maybe busts through 120 today. We're going to see how this plays out, but we'll talk about some of their announcements as well. AMD right here, 162.96. That's up 5% again. S&P 653. SoFi got upgraded today to $29. So the rate cut thesis is bullish for SoFi, but they also got a $29 upgrade on the street, which is also very good. 26, as you can see in the pre-markets, that's up about 1.12%. Grab above 530. Google right here, 240. Reddit, 244. Amazon, slightly flat. Meta, 765. That's flat. Salesforce is up a little bit. I mean, you got most of your names that are green, and if they're green, they're not super green like some of the hyperscalers, but they're green enough where you see the S&P 500 hitting a new all-time high. AppLovin, 562. This was at 540 a couple days ago. That's a new all-time high. You got Bitcoin at 113, and you also have BMNR. That's getting some love from Ethereum, 45.80. That's up 2.69% in the pre-markets because Ethereum is making a move based on the potential of more rate cuts, which is very exciting for a lot of the crypto ecosystem plays as well. All right, so let's talk about Hoodie. Let's talk about Hoodie. So for those that were watching the event last night, I was there in person. It was awesome. I know some of you guys caught me on the me, Tanner, and Roy were sitting a little bit further in the back, so you guys caught us when the camera panned over to us. But what did you guys think? I mean, in one word, a couple words, a phrase, what did you guys think? Just a quick recap. New features. We now have multiple accounts that are officially being launched. Everyone's been waiting for this. Future ladders working simultaneously on mobile and desktop. That's big for the future traders. Shorting. That's big. That's now coming to the platform. Overnight index options, stimulated returns on Legend, and then futures on Legend. So in terms of the actual desktop trading experience, they showed off a lot of stuff that people are going to be able to do. The number one thing I cared about this is multiple accounts, because now, like, I kind of wanted to start like this YouTube portfolio and like show the progress on the YouTube portfolio. Now I can do it right through Robinhood, and I don't have to take that money and go to some other platform, because I can just click one tab and then show a different account on Robinhood. So I think that's really cool. That feature is already rolled out to people, and people were very excited about that. And then they announced a couple other things that I wasn't expecting. Here's what they did in regards to AI. For all the technical analysts out there, you can now code your own indicators and a lot of other things coming into the future via Cortex, which is Robinhood's AI, just by speaking to what type of technical analysis you want to see.
To get set up, I'm going to go into our new indicator development environment.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
Okay, show me bullish breakouts. All right, my part's done.
Okay, that was fast, but to be fair, we should wait for the algorithm to finish.
The rest is up to my AI assistant.
Okay.
So let's just let it cook for a second.
Okay. It's creating some code here.
All right, we got it.
Incredible.
This was pretty cool. So this is one of a variety of different AI use cases that they showed out. And I believe there's going to be a lot more coming in the future. But essentially, they were like, hey, how can we make Legend even more attractive to a lot of other people? And look, I'm not that much of an active day trader, but for those that are and want to have their own indicators and want to have better ways of interacting with their technical analysis, doing it via plain English and allowing that AI to use that plain English to then translate data onto the screen. This is the whole hope of AI, making us more efficient, making us more productive, all that stuff. That's what you got. And they have this new AI screener stuff. I'm assuming they're going to have AI research coming in the future. It seems like they're going to embrace AI, not just from like a data perspective on, hey, why is this stock up or down, which is kind of the core use case of Cortex right now. But they're trying to issue a new paradigm for everyone that uses any other platform for technical analysis or for active trading to have an all-in-one shop on Legend. And I think that's very, very exciting to see kind of how this one will play out. And also, Robinhood had a little bit of a Easter egg when they were introducing shorting on the platform. We actually found this out at the after party. So someone had mentioned it to Tanner, and Tanner was like, "Bro, I think they trolled SoFi." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I think when they were showing off the shorting demo, they used SoFi stock to short, they needed to short some stock to be able to show off the demo." And I was like, "There's no way they did that." And then I went into the video again, and there you go. SoFi was the name they were using to short when they were doing the. I mean, this was just hilarious. Again, it was a funny little joke. Vlad also on his other new product that we'll talk about in a second, it showed that he bought Open Door. So it's like, they were trolling back and forth in a bunch of different places. But I think it was just fun. And shorting is a big feature that a lot of people have been requesting. That's going to be massive for a lot of the active traders that have wanted shorting on Robinhood for a long time. Again, I don't really short, so it's not something that I'm going to be using, but a lot of people have been asking for it, and it's something that's going to drive a lot of revenue for the platform as people will want to go short certain names, and now Robinhood gives them the ability technically to do that. Now, this was the biggest feature that was announced, and we're going to see how big of a game changer this potentially could be. Robinhood is launching a social network. Robinhood is launching a social network. You'll be able to verify customer trades to show entry and exit points. You'll be able to discuss and follow trades just like you do on X. You can view verified daily P&Ls from users. So if someone says they actually made 10X on an option, like you can force them to verify it by showing the history of their trade on a platform like Robinhood. And this is a big one. You can follow public trades of insiders, funds, and politicians. There's a lot of these apps that are kind of dedicated to showing you what Nancy Pelosi is doing and all this stuff. Robinhood's like, hey, we're just going to integrate all of that into our own For You and following feed. So, look, I think this is really exciting simply because of the fact that there's a lot of people on social media that tend to grift by showing these like fake screenshots that have these returns that get people to follow their Discord and Patreon. I think now it's going to become very competitive. It's going to become very competitive. If you are actually, making returns on options, if you are actually showing that you can swing trade and make 30% a week, and you can prove to other people that if you join their Discord, you'll help you make 30% a week. Like, you now need a trail of records that's not as simple as a screenshot that can be altered via AI. And I think consumers are going to demand that they want to see people actually show off their live trades. So the question simply becomes, how much demand is there going to be from consumers to get these trades? How many people will want to show their trades? Because that's also another thing around how many people want to be as transparent as possible. And then also, how many active traders do you have constantly updating new trades? Because there's some people that pick a couple stocks and go long. There's not much to keep trading onto the platform. So what other types of content, like could it become a content platform where like on Twitter, if you report the news about Nebius offering a $2 billion convertible note, would people want to post that on Robinhood social network over X, or would they want to post it in both places, right? So I think there's a lot of different questions on how they can expand and scale a social network. But I do think it's, a lot of companies have tried social networks in the past. It's not really worked. If there was any company, especially in the stock market space, if there was any company to do it, I think it would be Hood. And the fact that they decided to embrace this challenge, to me, is really exciting. Because they have 24 million users, right? If they can even get a couple million of them actively using this every single day, forget the advertising model they could build around this. I think Bloomberg, CNBC, all these companies would pay a lot of money from a finance perspective to be in this feed. But the stickiness of the product, which will increase the user engagement and overall the user adoption of the product, for them to get a credit card or a banking account or all these different things, if you just get a notification to go back to check your Robinhood social app, I think that as an integrated ecosystem play, even if it doesn't independently make money as a form of revenue, is a very, very exciting attempt for Robinhood to go after. And so I think it should be good. So we're just going to have to see how this one ends up playing out. But these were the announcements. You had social. You had a bunch of different features on Legend. You had shorting, and you had a lot more AI Cortex simulated returns / coding for custom indicators on Robinhood. I thought it was an incredible event. Vlad's energy was awesome. The employees were great last night. All of them were super excited to show off these results. So the energy in the room was amazing. I got to see so many of you that were at the event as well. And I think the stock deserves to get some momentum based on what they announced yesterday, because all that stuff to me is revenue accretive. And the fun thing about this is there's going to be a fourth event at the end of the day, or in December for Robinhood, which is going to be pretty awesome. And not only is there going to be a fourth event, next year they're going to have another 3 to 4 events, and the year after that they're going to have another 3 to 4 events. They're going to have Robinhood Active Trader Summit 3 next year, and we're going to have 10 new features. So I just think the trajectory of growth, yes, is the stock expensive 100%, but the trajectory of growth for them to be able to continue constant nonstop execution and shipping what it seems like almost 15 features a year is not slowing down. NVIDIA right here, 176.14, S&P 653. And that's why this one seems very, very exciting for Robin. So there you go. Okay, we have a couple other headlines. Hims launches oral testosterone and expands men's healthcare. Andrew Dudum did say yesterday on stream, or not on stream, but on Twitter, that he was going to be announcing a new product. Hims is up about 4% in the pre-markets based on this news. So it looks like oral testosterone and expanding men's healthcare is the announcement. We'll see some more updates on that in a bit. And then Amazon apparently is going after Meta's AR glasses. That is another new headline right there. Amazon flat in the pre-markets. Meta is also flat. Looks like Amazon is reportedly developing AR glasses in a challenge to Meta. According to the information, Amazon is working on 2 AR glasses, one for its delivery drivers and one for consumers. Okay, so that is the update from Amazon. It is going to be hyper competitive in the glasses space. It seems like that's happening. And then Novo, slightly flat on that Hims news, not moving too crazy. Hoodie right there, 119.86. Oracle continuing to show, wow, 320. That is an all-time high, 32% green on the day. Tanner is sleeping. That is correct. We actually got home pretty late. We actually we had dinner with a nice friend that some of you guys may know. Triple V was in Vegas, and we went out to dinner with Mr. Triple V, myself, Tanner, Roy, and Chris, and it was awesome. It was an awesome dinner. It was a good time. I think we got home at around 12:30, so I got a little bit of sleep, but Tanner is still sleeping. By the way, Jose is going to be on in about an hour to talk more about Oracle, and I'll talk about it right now as well. But I mean, this earnings was just, I mean, it's almost hard to believe the numbers that they put up. So we'll talk more about it, but absolutely crushed 32%. They are a couple $100 billion away from going to $1 trillion. And if they put up the numbers that they guided for yesterday, I don't know how they don't go to $1 trillion. So we're going to see what ends up playing out, but it is quite incredible. SNPS, this one, did they have earnings yesterday as well? Is this Synopsys? Oof. Down 27%. Okay, I did not pay attention to this one yesterday. $100 billion market cap. This one is another semiconductor design company. Looks like their earnings weren't the best. Robinhood right here, 120 in the pre-market. So Synopsys is down. Oracle is green. My gosh, didn't VVV buy 100K around Hood at 100? Yes, he bought it at 98, and then he already has like 4 million shares. So yesterday was a fun day for him as well. He was at the event. He was seeing all the results. A couple of you guys got a chance to meet him. If Baddie's in the chat, she was there. She got a chance to meet him. So it was cool. It was fun, and it was exciting. It was his first time kind of. I mean, he owns 0.5% of the company at this point. So for him, like getting to see the culture, the vibes, and how the company throws on events, it was a really. I will just say the vibe at the event was exciting. It was fresh. It was energetic. Like everyone wanted. Dude, here's one of the biggest takeaways I got from the event. And then we'll talk about Oracle. The amount of people that I talked to, and I asked, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And they said, "Oh, I do this full time. I trade full time." It was at least 25 people, and I'm not even kidding. At least 25 people that I said, "What do you do for a living?" They said, "Oh, I trade full time." I'm like, "What did you used to do?" It's like, "Oh, I quit my job 4 years ago." I mean, it's quite incredible. The fact that people are investing for a living is not easy to do. And the amount of people that were here that, made some money in their prior 9 to 5. And then I met a guy who had 200,000 shares of Hood. He's been trading since he's been trading since he was young. He's like 35. He's been trading since he was in his early 20s. But the amount of people that were here that worked a regular 9 to 5 and just started like learning more about the equity markets and decided to do it full time was just incredible. So it is possible. It is very real. People are doing it every single day, and it's quite incredible to see. And a lot of how people are doing it, believe it or not, selling options. It's not. I met one guy who actually like buys calls every week and swing trades. I met a couple of day traders, but I met a lot of people that just sell premium to the market. That's it. They sell calls, they sell puts. Once we have a big enough portfolio, even 1 or 2% a month is enough to live off of. And a lot of people are doing quite well with the ability to sell premium to the market. So yeah, it is. It was really nice. It was really nice to see a lot of people, a lot of different perspectives, and see how ultimately they are putting up the results that they're putting up to be able to become a trader and someone who can live off the ability to invest in the first place. Okay, Oracle, what do we got? So Oracle is, look, this is, I don't even know what to say. I saw these numbers in our Tanner, Roy, and I were sitting in our Airbnb when these numbers came out before we had to head to the summit. And I mean, we were all just shocked. We could not, this picture right here is the picture that like Jose tweeted it. And I mean, does this picture even make sense? Is this picture even real? We got about 20 minutes until the market opens. This is their remaining performance obligations on the backlog. As you can see right here, look, I've already seen the bears come out for AI and say Oracle's bullshitting us. And I'm already seeing them say this is a short, this is nonsense, this is not real, yada, yada. Maybe it is a short because, look, the stock up 30% in a day. Like, maybe that's not sustainable, right? So from a valuation perspective, maybe that could be a reason why buying puts are going short today. If this sustains, could be a good trade. But either Oracle is frauding investors by saying they have 359% backlog growth, which if they are, someone's going to jail, because in 4 years, you can't say, oh, yeah, instead of 359, it came in at 102. Like, you can say it came in at 320, came in at 340, it came in at even 300. But for that to go from 359% projected growth to like 40% projected growth, someone's going to jail. You cannot have that much of a misleading statement on remaining backlog. If they're not lying and they're not frauding, and these numbers are going to be anywhere near the numbers that we're seeing right here with $455 billion in remaining performance obligations, then I don't know what we're talking about anymore when it comes to bubble. It seems like this is going to be a story that is not slowing down at all. It seems like the hyperscalers are going to keep growing. It seems like NVIDIA is obviously going to be spending a decent amount of money NVIDIA is going to be selling a decent amount of GPUs, and they're going to be making a decent amount of money on all this cloud computing AI workloads that needs those GPUs. And it just seems like this is a story that's almost just beginning when you look at a chart like this. And if this is real, exactly, AI is just starting. AI is just starting. It's so funny. When I was at AIPCon, I told you guys about this a couple of days ago. Someone told me Oracle is the real deal. And they were like so serious. But as a very smart person who was one of the customers at Palantir, and he was just like, dude, personally, I believe Oracle is the real deal. And on the market close on Monday, myself, Jose, Neil, and Sam, someone asked us, what do you think about Oracle earnings? And all of us were in unison on the idea of the only way Oracle pumps, because it's already at all-time highs, is if they have a Broadcom type of quarter. They need to have like this mystery customer that gives them 10 billion in revenue, like something that totally changes the paradigm. And they did that times a billion with the results that they put up yesterday. And as a result, it's just very hard to be bearish on the overall thesis of AI when Oracle is putting up these types of numbers.
Oracle surging to new records after reporting some blockbuster growth in multi-cloud database revenues. The earnings call just getting started. Our Mackenzie Sagalas has got the very latest. Mac.
Hey, Mel. So Oracle is jumping in the post-market as investors look past a slight earnings miss and zero in on its AI and multi-cloud momentum. Database revenue from Amazon, Google, and Microsoft growing more than 1,500% in its fiscal Q1, while cloud infrastructure revenue, one of its fastest growing businesses, jumped 55% in the quarter. And then looking ahead, Oracle's contracted backlog. This is the cleanest proxy for future growth. It climbed more than 350% from last year to nearly $500 billion. Part of what's driving momentum here is a $30 billion deal with OpenAI to expand U.S. data center capacity and a new partnership to run Google's Gemini AI models on Oracle's cloud. Now, the company's earnings call that just got started. We'll keep an ear out for additional guidance and color from Larry Ellison and CEO Safra Catz.
Put in the chat if you owned Oracle. I know a couple of you guys actually own some Oracle calls. I mean, those calls are going to be up multiple thousands of percents today. This was a big one, dude. This was a really, really big one. So for anyone saying data centers are just like empty spaces that aren't going to have an ROI, for anyone saying cloud revenue is not sustainable, for anyone saying CapEx is going to die down, which is the bear case for NVIDIA, this chart right here is telling you CapEx is going up, cloud spend is going up, AI workloads are going up, GPU sales have to go up, because there's no reason for them to have these many remaining performance obligations if you're not going to keep investing in overall data centers and infrastructure, which is, again, the NVIDIA bull case. Inference is going up. That's going to be big for AMD. Like, I don't see, if these numbers are accurate by Oracle, and they're not BSing us, how this isn't the most bullish AI earnings we've seen in the stock market all year. I mean, this was almost like an NVIDIA May 2023 breakout quarter. I don't know if it's that sustainable because, again, it's not revenue growth, it's RPO growth, which just means they're kind of factoring in all that revenue and giving you that guidance 4 years early. But the reason they're giving it 4 years early is because they're trying to say, guys, like, we are not the same company that we were even a quarter ago. We are about to get into an exponential growth phase. And the market's pricing that in. And they're pulling all of that forward, which is why Oracle is pumping at the level it's pumping. It's why NVIDIA went from 167 to 176 right in the pre-markets. That's why Palantir went from 155 to 167. Oracle right here, 322, up 33%. And it's hard to move a $700 billion company 30% in a day. But in the next 14 minutes when the market opens, if this continues, that is what we are looking at. So quite incredible. Quite incredible. Amit, buy Iran. Okay, so I did buy some Iran. I bought it last night or 2 nights ago in the overnight markets. I bought 100 shares. I bought 100 shares at 28.90. I really don't know a ton about Iran. It was kind of like my nebulous proxy play. I just threw 100 shares at this. So I'm in Iran. For everyone who's been asking and forcing me to buy Iran, I'm in it. There you go. 28.90. I'm in it. I will now start deeper due diligence. I literally just bought it because Nebius went up. I was like, all right, I'll mess around and I'll throw 100 shares at the thing that hasn't gone up as much as it. But look, in general, data centers, infrastructure, the ability to facilitate the mechanism to build out those data centers to service these GPUs, electricity, energy. I think we're going to have to do some real planning for 2026 on what companies we can throw money at, either in like a general, like, hey, let's throw 5,000 at VST, 5,000 at VRT, 5,000 at Nebius, 5,000 at Iran. And then if you're really convicted on Iran, you take the whole 20,000 and say, screw the other guys. I'm just going to go all 20,000 in Iran. Or you kind of have a mix and spray approach of just like picking and choosing a bunch of these different names. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards because I don't know exactly which one's going to be the winner, but it feels like all of them are going to be relevant over the next 5 years. The fact that Google took a little bit of a stake in TeraWulf, to me, was even further validation. TeraWulf right here up 3.5%. That Google, these hyperscalers, are realizing, wait a second, we need more data center build out. Again, Microsoft's Nebius deal, continued validation that Microsoft can't keep up with the demand. Microsoft back above 500. They were at 495 on Monday. And they need to give Nebius $20 billion over the next 4 years, which would quadruple Nebius's growth rate. Nebius right here down 5% based on the convertible note offering. And it just means that there's a lot of gems out there that likely have a cycle to run. Now, granted, are they super cyclical? Are their margins the best? What is their valuation in regards to free cash flow? There's a lot of these things that I have not dived into. Obviously, the people that dive deep into that on Nebius have been rewarded very well. But I think for 2026, those could be some of the most important plays that we need to really care about. So we're going to see. Yeah, and TSM, I mean, TSM had results yesterday on their, it was not their earnings, but it was their monthly metrics. August revenue of 11 billion, up 33% year over year. And then 2025, 80.3 billion throughout August, they have brought in revenues up 37% year over year. It's just not slowing down, dude. It's just not slowing down. And as a result of it not slowing down, it is very exciting to see how this is ending up playing out. Klarna allocations are out already. Wow, that's early. They usually don't do that until middle of the day. Okay, so for those that have their Klarna allocations, congrats. I see a lot of you guys saying you actually, Mr. G says I got 339 shares. Julia says I got 59 shares. Wonderloss says I got 109 Klarna. Okay, cool. It looks like they're giving a bit. Okay, Sachin's been in Klarna for a long time. Sachin was one of the earliest investors in Klarna. Not one of the earliest, but I think, Sachin, you were at Series B, Series C back in 2021 or something? So Sachin has a decent stake in Klarna. Got 5 shares, got 1 share, got 9. Okay, I like that they did it before the market opens. Usually they do it at like 11 a.m. So it's nice to see that they did it early. And it looks like those Klarna allocations are out. PPI, again, for those that are asking, came in way better than expected. That's another reason why the market's really moving. Again, 2.8 or 2.6 versus 3.3. Core 2.8 versus 3.5. I cannot understate how important it is for the sake of this bull market to continue. By the way, it's September 10th. I know September is supposed to be a little ugly, just like August is supposed to be ugly. We're 10 days in. I know we got 20 days left, but you got Oracle earnings like this. You got Robinhood events like this. You got price targets across the board. You got Nebius Microsoft deal. Now you have PPI. If we get a good CPI tomorrow, I mean, there's a world where maybe September and August are the anomaly against historical trends because of the waterfall flush we had in April of down 30%, which a lot of the people that I talked to at this Hood Summit said they bought the dip, right? Retail really did heavily buy that dip. And we needed a good PPI to keep this bull market going. We really need a good CPI tomorrow to keep it going. And boy, did we get a good PPI. I mean, this to me is telling me the tariffs realistically are a one-time thing. Now, I got to go deeper into these PPI numbers. This is just the headline, but to have this level of a miss on PPI against expectations and month over month for that to decrease also makes me think that tariffs are not going to have the impact that the market might have thought they would have, which is not the worst thing in the world. Now, we did get an update yesterday from Trump in regards to India and China. So here is what Trump had to say. We're nowhere near an India deal yet. I'm hoping by the end of the year we get there. But this is what Trump had to say about negotiating with India.
Welcome back. We've got a news alert. President Trump posting about new trade talks with India. Megan Cassell's got more. Megan.
Melissa, the president potentially looking to smooth things over here with India, posting just a few minutes ago on Truth Social saying he's pleased to announce that India and the U.S. are continuing negotiations to address the trade barriers between our two nations. He says he looks forward to speaking with who he calls his very good friend, Prime Minister Modi, in the upcoming weeks, and adds, I feel certain that there will be no difficulty in coming to a successful conclusion for both of our great countries. Now, Melissa, to state the obvious here, pretty striking timing and unusual timing with this post, given the story we talked about at the top of the hour, which is that two sources familiar now confirmed to me that as of today, the president has been asking the European Union to impose tariffs of up to 100% on both India and China to pressure Vladimir Putin over Russian oil. So you do have to wonder how that might impact these upcoming talks. But of course, there is a lot on the line here for both countries, with tariffs now in place on Indian imports of 50% as of late last month.
I believe we got some tariff updates yesterday as well in regards to tariff revenue, and it's about $30 billion a month in tariff revenue that we're getting, which also is, $30 billion in August 2024. So look, if PPI was a one-time increase back in August and prices are not going up as dramatically as expected, which again, I only saw the headline numbers. I have to go deeper into it later today, but let's assume that is the way that it's kind of playing out. And we'll see next month if that confirms that tariffs are sort of a one-time price increase and the PPI is not that aggressive. That means that companies don't have to raise their prices because of tariffs, which means the whole idea that demand was going to slow down because companies would raise prices, which would hurt the actual economy. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe that doesn't exactly happen. Again, for us to have a bull market, we need to have rate cuts, great corporate earnings, the AI tailwind to continue, inflation to not skyrocket, and then a labor market that is not super hot, which would hurt inflation, but not super low, which would decimate the economy. AKA, we can't have hundreds of thousands of job losses every single month. So far, everything that we kind of need to make that bull market make sense, which I think 85% of everything I said, by the way, really comes down to corporate earnings, that is intact. And as long as that continues to be intact, not to mention if we get some trade deals, that's also really going to help the broader geopolitical landscape around the economy. I don't know, 6,700 on the S&P. It doesn't feel that, I mean, that's what pretty much every price target is out there claiming for. You have some more ambitious people calling for 7,000. Obviously, if we get, close to 75 bips, 100 bips by the end of the year, maybe that happens. 653.98 works very close to 654. We got 5 minutes until this market opens, and we're going to see how it plays out. But it feels like there's a chance that can continue in the way that it needs to continue. And if so, that would be very, very exciting. Oh, the Hood August metrics, I believe, are coming out today, if I'm not wrong. And it'll be out at 4 p.m. I will not be doing a market close today. But I will tweet about it as soon as the metrics are out. That's another thing that could really help Hood stock today. If August was a good month, which I think it was a pretty good month, that could show that Q3 is going to be strong. I mean, look, my price target end of year was 120. We're at 120. I'm not saying we're going to stay above 120. I think based on the announcements last night, along with S&P 500, which we haven't even been rebalanced in yet, that's going to happen September 22nd. We should be above 120. But maybe, I don't know, maybe 120 is not where it stops based on a monster Q3 that Vlad might deliver. And if so, this would obviously be very, very exciting. So we are going to see, but the announcements last night just continue to make me believe that Hood's going to be in the right place. BMNR right here, finally breaking above 46. Again, this one's super volatile, up 3.74%. It was at 37 or 38 last Friday. So you had a lot of stocks. Robinhood was at 97. NVIDIA was at 164. I mean, a lot of these names that took a dip. Once again, the market is proving when you get a dip of more than 1%, which I think over the past couple of weeks, we got 1.2%, 1.5%, even like 0.7%, anywhere near that 0.5 to 1.5% range, you buy that dip. So far, realistically, over the past 5 months, ever since the tariff drama, that is what has been the play, whether it was Moody's, bond auction, Israel, Iran, 50% tariffs on Europe, this, that way. If you get a 1% decline, you buy across the board. And so far, that's working out. So now we're just going to continue to see if those dips remain shallow and the market can continue making its momentum. So here we go. We got 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes to see how this opens up. SoFi got upgraded today. They got upgraded. Let me pull that up. By who do they get upgraded by? Needham 29 from 25 to 29. They said, we believe the capital raise that came over this summer is not receiving enough attention from investors. We believe it provides opportunities to either accelerate growth in the lending business or potentially step back into M&A. Now, I was talking to Tanner, who listened to the Goldman Sachs conference, and apparently he said that Noto said the money they raised is not for a crypto acquisition, it's for an AI acquisition. So it looks like SoFi is going heavy for an AI play, potentially, to improve banking, underwriting, whatever else they may be trying to go after. And look, you get rate cuts coming. You get a decent economy where the labor market's not that bad. You get an AI acquisition. I mean, do we not think this can see over 30 by the end of the year? Like, it feels very positive. The momentum's there, 26, 20. I know it's been having a hard time holding above 26, but it does not feel too crazy to imagine that SoFi can get some momentum. And then Google, I mean, just goodness gracious. Shout out to Google. Again, cloud revenue projections of $58 billion came out yesterday. That's why it spiked to 240, even with some of the lawsuits they dealt with over the past couple of days. And the market loves it. And it's really helping the S&P, Google and Apple. Oh, we didn't even talk about Apple. We got about 30 seconds until the market opens. So Apple 231 down from 240. iPhone 17 launch was underwhelming. Now, I do think there were some elements of the iPhone 17 Pro that are actually really interesting and exciting. I don't know how much people are going to care about it long term. The iPhone Air kind of looks cool, I guess. I know they tried to kill Duolingo with the AirPods live translation. Duolingo slightly up in the pre-markets. I don't know if that's really the biggest bear case for Duolingo. I mean, it's definitely not good for them, but I don't know if that destroys the company or anything. But yeah, the Apple event in general, until we get some real updates on Siri, I don't think people are going to care that much. And so the question is, can they really innovate when it comes to an AI personal assistant? And if we see it, I think the market will care. If not, we're going to have to see how this one ends up playing out. All right, folks, thank you all for being here. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 9:30 a.m. We are in Vegas, and the stock market is now open. Oh, wait, hold on. I think that was muted. Doing amateur stuff in Vegas. Here we go. Let me pull this up. Okay, here we go. It shouldn't be muted anymore. All right, here we go. There's the bell. We got to do the bell. Here we go. Robinhood, 120.97, 121. That is all-time highs. All-time highs on Hoodie. There you go. 121.30. Wow, she's just running through it. 121.39 on Hoodie. There you go, up 2.3%. Palantir, 165. Nvidia, 175. Tesla, 349. S&P, 652. AMD, 161.86. Hoodie again. She is not stopping. 121. She is trying to break through. That's up 2.16% on the day. Grabs at 530. Google's at 239. SoFi, 26.42. Let's see if 27 is in the cards for SoFi. Meta right here, 762. Amazon, 236. Salesforce, 252. Apple right here, 231. SMCI is at 43.92. Bitcoin, 113.16. Not too bad. App 11, 567. Oracle, did we hold 30% at the open? 31% at the open, 318 on Oracle. That means people are actually buying shares at 318, up 30% on the day. They are not letting that stop them from buying more. $900 billion market cap on Oracle. $900 billion market cap on Oracle. Absolutely incredible. That is not stopping at all. Hoodie trying to hold 120. If we close above 120, I would be very happy because that would be a all-time high close above 120. But could I see this going higher based on some of the momentum that they announced yesterday in metrics? Yeah, along with metrics after hours that we're going to get for August. So you do have Hood trying to get above and hold above that 120 route. Yeah, Larry Ellison, by the way, owns 45% of Oracle. His net worth, I'll get an update on that today, but it's up a lot. It's up 30%. He is one of the few founders that owns the majority of his company. Most people don't actually end up owning 45% of the whole company, and he still does. So 81 years old, and his company is about to hit $1 trillion. Maybe not today, but they're $100 billion away from hitting $1 trillion. Yeah, he might take on Elon Musk in net worth. It might be possible. Now, granted, Elon has SpaceX, which is helping a lot, but still incredible. AMD right here, 161. S&P all-time high, 653. Nvidia, 176. If you bought the Nvidia dip last week, I think I bought it at 166.45. Anyone who bought it around that sort of lower than 170 range is not doing too bad based on some of these Oracle numbers. Meta right here, 757. Salesforce, 253. Delta 60, Nubank 1556. This thing was below 12 3 weeks ago. So if you bought before earnings, that's not too bad. DoorDash right here, 256. Where is Nebius? They did an offering of $2 billion. That's down 2%. Market doesn't care too much about that. It's probably the smart thing to do the offering. So that's fine. Iran 31.58. That's up another 5% on the day. That one's not doing too bad. BMNR, where did we open? Wow, 46.39. It's holding 46. It's holding 46. And then Broadcom should be mooning as well because of Oracle. Broadcom mooning as well. All-time highs on Broadcom. $354. That is a 5.29% on the day. CoreWeave probably flying with that. CoreWeave right here. Wow, 18% on CoreWeave. I didn't even see that in the pre-market. I mean, it makes sense. If there's that much cloud revenue demand for Oracle, there's going to be a ton of GPU demand, which means there's going to be a ton of GPU reselling demand, which is where CoreWeave comes in. And again, as a data center infrastructure play, that's not stopping. Wolf as well is up 13%. Oh, well, Wolf is up 3%, but it's up 13% over the past couple of days. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. There's Mr. Chris Patel in the chat. He says, good morning, everybody. Chris, if you are free, let me know. I can call you up and we can get some of your thoughts on these Oracle earnings as well. But I was talking to Chris yesterday. Again, I went to dinner with Chris. It was Chris's 40th birthday yesterday as well. So we can wish him a happy birthday in the chat. And I'm happy I got to celebrate with him. I mean, he also got a nice little present for his 40th birthday with Mr. UNH. Chris was up a nice little $1 million yesterday on some of his calls, because UNH was up 10%. UNH finally got a breakout. They kind of they reaffirmed their guidance, but they increased one of the metrics in their guidance. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but it was enough for the street to be like, wait a second, why is this thing trading at $300? And it spiked it up, which was very nice to see. So for those that are heavy in UNH, congratulations. Chris, we know, is very heavy in UNH. So yesterday was a big 7-figure day for him. And it was a nice little birthday present as well. 346 right here on UNH, slightly down as we get into the market open. Robinhood right here, 120.15, still holding. Hoodie, Palantir, 165. NVIDIA, 177. That's up 4%. Grabby grab. It's had a good week from $5 to $5.30. I mean, I think the breakout is coming. I know people have to be very patient. I've been very patient. I do not think this stock growing at 30% with any low interest rate environment is going to be stuck at $5.30. But you do have a little bit of a move from 480 last week to 530. And then Google right here, 239, SoFi, 2631, Amazon, 233, Meta, 758. That's slightly down. Apple, 230, iPhone 17, not really pumping the books right there. TLT is actually up. Where's the 10-year? If this 10-year keeps falling, that's also going to be great for the broader market. Wow, 4.061. People are buying up bonds. They're locking in their rates. They're seeing PPI. They're seeing the labor market. They know Powell's going to cut. They know there might not be a chance of stagflation. And that gets a lot of demand into treasuries, which is great. It's great for the equity markets. Yeah, why did Synopsys get hit this bad, down 33%? I did not look at their earnings. IREN right here up 7% of the day, not bad. So IREN is green. Again, I bought a little bit of IREN at 28.90 2 days ago. So that one is up. But I did not look at Synopsys's results. They're in the semiconductor design space, so I wonder if it's a growth issue. I wonder if it's a tariff issue. But there's got to be something here that's kind of messing them up. That stock is, let's pull it up right here. Down 40% on the day, 31%. 31% on the day. Yikes. Yeah, that's aggressive. That is aggressive. Is BMNR halted? Are they? I don't know. BMNR. It was at 46, 45, 45. No, it's not halted, but it's down from 46. So BMNR really hasn't had the break above 50. I think you kind of need Ethereum closer to like 47, 4,800 for that to happen. I mean, it could happen without it. But last time it was breaking above that, you had ETH, trying to approach all-time highs. So we got to see if it can happen without Ethereum making that type of move the way it did before. GameStop had earnings. I don't think the market cared too much about it, but it was actually not a bad earnings. They beat on EPS and revenue. So if you're in GameStop, up 4.7% of the day, not too bad. But that one did have a little bit of move. And then Hoodie right here, just below 120, 119.61 is what you got on the day. Are you still holding Misty? Yes, I am. 500 shares, not really performing too well because MicroStrategy has kind of sucked. But we're going to see. To me, it was kind of an experiment of just like, how does this play out? I think it would be doing a lot better if MSTR itself, the underlying, was doing a lot better. But, Bitcoin's been relatively flat. So it makes sense why it's not been moving like crazy. Chris said send him a link. All right, let's get Chris on the show. And we'll get some of his thoughts on what's going on. Who owns Oracle? Put in the chat if you've owned Oracle, whether it's calls or you've been a long on Oracle for a long time. Let me know if you do own it. But I mean, again, this type of it's really hard for me to look at the AI bears and what Larry Ellis. Wow, 325 all time, 35% on the day. Let me tell you, Oracle is going to help Chris's stock draft. I'll load it up in about 10 minutes when it has the updated quotes. Because he has Oracle in his stock draft and he was like in 4th place. This might take him up a lot higher. I checked my rankings yesterday. I forgot I had Nebius. And so even with Duolingo down 45%, Nebius is making my portfolio up 18%. We'll see how it opens today. Matt's at 23%. So now instead of being 15% away from Matt, I'm 5% away because of Nebius. So some of these plays, they can make or break an entire ETF. And obviously Nebius is doing incredibly well. Oracle right here, 327, another all-time high. And people continue to buy. $917 billion market cap. You need what? You need about 7% for $1 trillion. Another 328. There you go. Are we going to 330? 328. I see a lot of you guys own Oracle. Wow. Shilpa owns Oracle. Brandon, June owns it. Peggy, Justin. Yeah, decent amount of you guys own this name. I mean, congrats. Congrats. It is getting incredible. Yeah, Corey pumping on this as well, which is why it's been getting this momentum. Forest that I sold yesterday. I mean, look, if you took your profits, you took your profits. 330. I don't know how sustainable a 40% move on a $700 billion company is. But then again, I don't know how to look at the numbers that we showed and say, oh, yeah, that doesn't deserve an entire re-rating of the company. Oracle CEO said we signed 4 multi-billion-dollar contracts with 3 different customers in Q1. This resulted in RPO contract backlog increasing to $455 billion, up 359%. Oracle is guiding for $144 billion of cloud revenue in the next subsequent 4 years, $32 billion, $73 billion, $114 billion, and $144 billion. I mean, it's just hard to say this growth is not going to be monumental enough to keep this excitement going and momentum going for Oracle. 331, folks. She is not stopping. Robinhood 120.5, Palantir 163, Tesla taking a little bit of a dip. NVIDIA moving with it. NVIDIA up a nice 5% on the day. That is a $145 billion market cap move for NVIDIA, trying to get to 178. There she goes, NVIDIA 178, continuing to make a move. And then Oracle right here, $332.70. That is up 37% on the day. Just incredible. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good, man. I've just lost my voice a little bit from all the talking yesterday with pretty much everyone, and last night being at dinner. That was amazing, man. Really.
No, you didn't just lose your voice. You have a whole new voice. This is not Chris. This is someone else. This is a deep, sexy, seductive Chris. What is going on here?
Nah, bro. I just have a swollen throat. That's it.
Dude, Oracle 37%. What is your takeaway?
I mean, I think this is the part of the AI cycle where you're starting to see more people transitioning to the services part. So what we saw, like that whole build out in AI CapEx, all that is going to translate into services. And so once again, the cloud providers are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of rapid growth as more and more companies adopt AI into their ecosystems. I mean, you're talking about an entire industry saying that if they don't get into AI, they're gonna fall behind. So it's one thing that the hardware part got built out, and that's why you saw Nvidia and AMD and a lot of the hardware guys make a crap ton of money on the build out. But now you're starting to see that translate into actual revenue from the services side, right? So first, it's the building materials that make things amazing, and then at the same time, now you have the services portion coming in. So, this is where you want to be long all the hyperscalers, because if the theory is AI is gonna basically do a really strong growth profile for the next, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years, whatever. The main beneficiaries, I think, are going to be these hyperscalers that can sell these services for much higher margins, and that's the basic core thesis that I had with both Google and Oracle in the ETF portfolio. I had a little bit of Marvell in there as well for like custom GPUs that are getting designed. I wish I chose Broadcom rather than Marvell, but hey, it's just part of the ecosystem, and I think that's one of the great things about all of us, that we chose companies that are going to benefit from the AI cycle,
Right.
and some of us have hardware providers, some of them have service providers, but yeah, overall, it looks like the market's going to keep rewarding these hyperscalers.
For anyone who says AI is a bubble, based on the Nebius contract and now the Oracle backlog, how are you thinking of the overall AI CapEx bubble argument that people make?
So I'd say there are pockets of bubblish things that are happening, but AI in general is not necessarily a bubble just yet. So the best way I could explain this is just when certain parts of an industry, I mean, like a hype cycle start to go up like crazy, bubbles can really form. So if you remember the internet, right? Cisco was a bubble, right? It doesn't mean that Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all of these guys were a bubble when the dot com issue happened, right? So among an industry when it's in its infancy, you're going to see people really hype up certain things. And the thing is, the business nature of that specific part of the industry can be more cyclical. And so you kind of want to stay away from the cyclical, like what is that thing called? You kind of want to stay away from the cyclical part of the cycle, and you just want to be in the part that has an up and to the right business. So the best way that I can explain this is if you look at something like Nvidia, and by the way, I'm not bearish on Nvidia. I'm just saying the opportunity for upside is more on the hyperscaler side than it is on just pure hardware providers, right? So if you look at Nvidia, its growth is starting to kind of slow down. I'm not saying that it's not growing. It's just it's starting to trend in the other direction. Whereas you're seeing the hyperscalers, their business models allow them for an up and to the right business. Other thing is with Nvidia and all the other GPU providers, they're becoming more and more and more efficient, which means the total cost of ownership of that hardware becomes cheaper and cheaper, while these hyperscalers can sell services and upcharge them with new business services, right? So you can go from training to inferencing and everything else. So in my opinion, when you look at like the quote unquote the AI bubble, I don't necessarily think it's a gigantic bubble, but I do think that there are pockets of areas where there's a little bit of overvaluation relative to the cycle, and like the cyclicality of that business versus the other parts that are pure margin based businesses. Like, and I hesitate to say that, but Palantir, even technically, quote unquote, according to me, is overvalued, but I don't see them slowing down future growth at all because they're providing the tools that all of these businesses need, right? So I was actually, it's funny, I was talking to a bunch of people yesterday, and dude, if you guys ever meet Amit at one of these meetups, dude's a rock star. Like every single person was just, I felt, I was like at one point, I was like, Amit, do you want to borrow my sunglasses? Because like every 5 seconds we would like walk, we're trying to get to dinner, and every time we walk, everyone just approaches Amit, oh my God, you're Amit, blah, blah, blah. And it was getting a little bit like, oh man, this guy, what am I doing here?
Oh,
It
well,
was like,
they actually were doing that to you as well. So they were like, "Hey, Chris," but they were asking you about Palantir, and there were reasonable arguments by a lot of people around how they think about Palantir, how you've thought about Palantir, your history with Palantir, and ultimately your argument to them was, "Hey, I don't think the valuation is that attractive, but their growth is there, and if that growth is not slowing down, then it looks like it's going to continue to have momentum." Robinhood right here, 122.33, Palantir 165. Oracle, folks, is going for 340. It got to 339. It's at 337. We got Vlad on CNBC. Chris, stay on for a couple minutes. I want to get your thoughts on Hood right after this, but this is Vlad live on CNBC.
How are you guys doing? That's right, Robinhood Social. We unveiled it among a bunch of other innovations and new products for our traders. And I think this is going to be a great source of information for people that are using the platform to hedge their risks, speculate. I think people are going to love it.
I totally agree, but I think what's most interesting, if you go in to be able to get into, say, the Oracle or the Robinhood, you're greeted with what I think maybe is the greatest innovation for Gen Z I have seen. Tell us about your IRA, because it is dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about what we encourage and incentivize through our various promos and matches, it's retirement. So the journey of a customer through the Robinhood platform is they usually come in because they're interested in buying a particular stock, one of the innovation stocks, whether it be a Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, or many others that are at the frontier of innovation and technology. So they come in to buy a stock, sometimes a crypto, they become a gold member, and then they start putting a lot of their money into Robinhood. We think we can be a place for not just their active trading, but also their retirement savings, their cash that they want to earn interest on. We're really building what I call a financial super app. We want to be the place where you can meet all of your financial needs at the lowest cost and with the best possible user experience. I think the
Chris, what was your reaction? This was the first time you've been to a Robinhood event. By the way, BMNR absolutely taken off today, up a nice 7% right there. BMNR almost 48. There you go, 48, 7.5%. What was the vibe like, Chris, at the event, and what was your takeaway on the features that they put out?
So first I'll just stick to the vibe real quick. There was a lot of young people. Like, I think I would say about 80 to 90% of the attendees were under the age of 30 or 35, which is great because Robinhood has this market capture of the youth that's just going to translate into more and more AU. What is it? How did they say? AUC, assets under custody?
Yeah.
Right. So that's just going to translate into more and more assets under custody long term. Having this discussion with a bunch of people, I was like, look, you cannot be bearish on the number of people that are going to be in the market 5 years, 10 years from now. So even if you do get a pullback on Robinhood because of maybe some small changes in let's say expectations, instead of selling it off thinking, oh, this is a dead business, I'd lean into it. I mean, this is a great business model, and what I see Robinhood, even though the stuff that they showed off, I think was more beneficial to like active traders. I think I think because of just how friendly the UI is in its core services that Robinhood has, it's got tremendous amount of growth potential. And the other thing that I was telling you guys, I was like, if you see what Vlad is talking about, he's talking about a vertically integrated business where you're going to have all of your services connected into one thing. And that way you get the most ROI with the least amount of cyclicality, right? So if you think about it, and this is something that you brought up last time, which is, hey, what if trading volumes go down and your business model is reliant on order flow? Like, what happens to Robinhood's revenue? Does it decline? And then at the same time, if you've hired all these people, are you going to end up laying people off? And the best answer is something that was answered that day, which was, hey, we're going to do more than just let people trade stocks and options. We're going to give them banking. We're going to give them home loans. We're going to give them this. And once you get that user and you capture them in your ecosystem, you can monetize the hell out of it because, every time you need a mortgage, you reach out into your app, super app. You say, hey, I want to apply for a mortgage. Boom. Robinhood gets a cut for connecting you to a mortgage broker. You need insurance. You have Robinhood already. If you have a gold membership, you can get insurance. Like I said, I see this guy using the vertical integrated model to really juice up total returns per user. And because they have such a big hold over the current youth, I think the value of on a per user basis only goes up. And at the same time, I'm you know what? I'll discuss something. I actually spoke to somebody over with Robinhood. I said, what is your target total addressable market? And you know what this guy's response was? The entire world. I was like, damn.
He was serious. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense to be that bullish on it because you think there's 7 billion people on this planet with phones in their pockets. I mean, just think about that. You have the casino yesterday, there was like 10 people in the entire casino downstairs.
Dude, Vegas was dead. Vegas
Yeah.
was dead.
Vegas was dead. But you know what? Wasn't everyone on their phone looking at, their stocks, bonds, and whatever else they have? And I
Yeah.
think that's the key that you have to remember that now everyone is walking around with a casino in their pockets with much better odds, than putting $100 on a blackjack table. Yeah, I mean the payoff is quicker on the blackjack table, but at the same time, I mean these guys are launching futures where you can lever the hell up and turn $100 into $1,000 leverage. So, what's the difference at that point?
Yeah. No, I agree, dude. And maybe it's the timing of the year, but Vegas was dead. But the amount of people there was a guy who came up to me. He showed me 7,000 Palantir shares at $11. He's up $1 million. Someone showed me Robinhood calls. They're up 50 grand. I mean, like the conversation, and people were throwing out these numbers casually, like, oh, I'm up 50, I'm up 75. I made 100 last week. I mean, the active trading world, or just the world of investors, when you get deep into it, is aggressive. And obviously it is a new generation that's getting really excited about engaging in the capital markets. Here's an update on the stock draft. Matt's up 23. I'm up 18. Steve's up 2. Chris was like up 1% yesterday. Chris is up 8% now based on Oracle, which is up 57% for him. UNH as well is up 14%. Google's up 35%. Tanner is up 14. So it's Matt, Amit, Tanner, Chris, and Steve. And a lot of us that had any type of data center play. I had Nebius AMD, Tanner had NVIDIA, Chris had Oracle. It's doing well. Looks like it's not slowing down. Chris, would you buy Oracle here on this pump, or would you kind of feel afraid to lean into this momentum?
I mean, Oracle, you could never go wrong betting with Larry Ellison. I've never met a more dynamic CEO. And the reason why I think even at this price, I have to do more research on like what the valuation of Oracle is post this giant pump. But if you look at how Oracle has always been, they are very integrated into every single enterprise in the country. Like they have businesses, like their database business is everywhere. Like even right now, my organization, all of our on-prem applications, they all run on Oracle, you know. Not to mention they have a really big cloud business as well. And they're growing their cloud interest what's that called? Cloud services revenue as well. One of the things that I'm looking at right now, if you want to put it in the thing, it's called P Sky, like Paramount Skydance. So Paramount Skydance, Paramount is a merger between Skydance and Paramount, the entertainment company. And one of the things that you saw like before the merger is that Paramount had all sorts of legacy debt in their tech stack. And they had like contracts with multiple vendors, and it was just not the greatest thing. And then they have like a lot of costs that comes with the content delivery. What Larry Ellison's son, because he's more interested in the movie side of things, they ended up, merging with Paramount. And one of the things that they're going to be doing is basically unifying their entire technology stack, and it's all going to be run on Oracle. All right. Now, what is the major benefit to that? The benefit is because you have all of this stuff being run on a single platform with lower costs. A lot of that money can translate back into Paramount to actually develop more movies, more profitability, X, Y, and Z. So I think that's one of the things that we're seeing also as a trend, where you're seeing a lot of fragmented technologies kind of like merging together and actually creating more, I don't even know how to describe it, but basically making a way more efficient way to do content.
More
And
synergies, more
yeah,
efficiencies, all those things that actually end up making the business more effective. Chris,
exactly.
what are you thinking about the Fed? Like this PPI data seemed to be pretty aggressive to the downside. Labor market also aggressive to the downside. Do you think we get a cut? And do you think a cut is bearish or bullish going into the rest of the year?
To be honest, I think we have a very bifurcated economy right now. So it's a little bit weird. So the people that are doing good are doing extremely well. And the people that are not doing good are really suffering right now. And so the thing is, how do you kind of balance things out? Because you don't want one subset of the population doing extremely well and the other part of the population kind of struggling just to get by, because eventually they will rise up and like do a French Revolution. Okay. So you kind of have to figure out ways to help everyone. Now, the challenge is when you cut interest rates, you typically will blow up assets, which means the rich will get even richer because now their assets are going to be worth more. And the poor, while it does help them develop, get more credit, that doesn't solve the income inequality problem, right? So this is going to be a very fine needle that the administration is going to have to thread, where you have to try to balance out everyone's needs. And I think the Trump administration is trying to do that via the tariffs, where they're saying, look, if we implement these tariffs, we create more jobs, we create more incentives for people to hire Americans and boost up wages. And so the bottom half get more opportunities. I just haven't seen it translate into real tangible gains yet. That's not to say that it won't translate into gains in the near future. And I'm a little bit weary on, hey, will rate cuts actually improve the situation going forward? So one of the things that I'm a little bit, I'm just looking at is the housing market, where if you lower interest rates, will that cause people to buy homes? Probably. There's probably going to be some unlock where people are more willing to sell their homes, and some people are willing to buy more homes because interest rates are coming down. But the challenge is the price of homes themselves are extremely high.
Right.
So are we just trying to load people up with more debt? Is that the goal here? Or is it, hey, we need to create a more balanced economy, and how do we do that? So, a lot of this stuff is just the needle has to be finely thread in order to avoid a deep recession. while at the same time kind of helping. And this has been the goal of the administration, by the way. They've said it very clearly. Like Wall Street has had their turn. Now it's Main Street's term to benefit. So my thinking is they're going to craft a lot of policies that should help people at the Main Street level. It's just I haven't seen a lot of those things come about yet. You know.
Do you think the tariffs were a one-time price increase given this PPI, or do you think we need more data to confirm that?
I think we need more data, unfortunately. You know, it's like inflation and all of these things, they're the question here is PPI down because aggregate demand is down?
Right.
And if aggregate demand is down, that means like, hey, people are just not buying as many things. So,
Right.
you know, on one hand, you've got, like I said, you've got pressures on both sides. So you have the tariff pressure, which is raising prices. But at the same time, people are saying, listen, I can't afford to buy the widget that you guys made, so I'm just not going to buy. So now the companies are kind of squeezed, and what they have to do is they have to lower prices to a point where it makes sense for people to buy. So you kind of need, I'm telling you, you really need a strong consumer base in order for the economy to be healthy. You cannot have the top doing the heavy lifting all the time and the bottom getting squeezed the entire time. So I hope that they craft more policies that help out the bottom half and give them a lot more, what's the word? Sustainable growth, a lot more prosperity at the bottom, basically.
Yeah.
And by the way, giving them free shit is not the way to do it. I that's the one place where ideologically I really disagree with a lot of democratic policies, which is just give people free money and that'll solve the problem. And it's like, no, that creates a culture of dependency. Like that's not how you do it. You do it by creating incentives for people to work, develop, give them the incentive to do, you know, and that is one thing that the Trump administration is doing, but sometimes it doesn't come off that way. So like like right now, if you want Medicaid, you got to do a work requirement program, right? Where you have to work like 20 hours, like a month or something. And people are like up in arms, like, you can't do that. And I'm like, dude, it's 20 hours. It's like, come on. Like people spend more time, you know, doing leisurely things. So, you know,
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Nebius right here, up 5% on the day. Hoodie 121. Chris, when are you buying some hood? When are we getting you in this community? Like you saw everything last night. I know you don't love the price, but do you think you dabble in?
I'll wait for a pullback. I'll wait for a pullback. You know me, I'm a cheap dude, man. You know, I want to make sure I get something at a discount. I'm a Patel by heart, man. If it ain't free, it ain't for me. You know, and I'm always looking for a discount. Dude, I was flying to Vegas, and I was like, you know, my wife's like, oh, why don't you just like splurge, get like a nice Delta flight, get premium business? I'm like, nah, I'm flying Frontier. And Frontier like messaged me like, do you want to upgrade your seat for like $5? Like, nope, I'm good. You know, I'm chilling in the back of my Frontier flight. You know, I don't care how uncomfortable it is. I'm gonna use that $5 on something else. So
I love it. Chris, thank you for coming on. Chris, happy 40th birthday as well. You are a deep, deep friend and mentor in my life. And I think one thing about our friendship that shows people is that we can disagree on a stock and still be friends, you know, and I think that's very important. And I think a lot of people that saw you at the event yesterday saw you as just a regular human being, right? And, you know, you were talking up to so many people. We had one of our subscribers have lunch with us. Shout out to Angel, who came out to lunch with us to the Cracker Barrel. And it was awesome, dude. It was just great seeing you in person again. I'm happy that you're healthy. And, you know, quite frankly, my portfolio is where it is because Chris Patel taught me how to do call debit spreads on a regional bank back in 2023. He stayed up with me till like 4 a.m. on Zoom explaining how to do this shit. I learned it. I caught the bug. I got excited. I took that knowledge. I took that same strategy. I used it on Hood. And it literally, when I say literally, I mean literally changed my life. Like without those spreads on Robinhood, I would not have the portfolio that I have today. I would not have the capital, the literal capital I have to do what I'm doing today. And that is because of Chris. And as a result, as you guys are seeing right here on the screen, he's been able to use some of his own strategies and give himself a nice birthday present for you.
Man, you scared the shit out of me the day that you're like, guess what? I got a position in Robinhood. And I was like, okay, how many spreads did you buy? And when you said the number, I was like, oh my God, either I've made this guy a millionaire or I've just blown up his account and he's gonna fucking like work to pay off his debts for the next like 50 years.
Oh yeah, like 2000. Chris was like, I'm it. what are you doing? I was like, no, you showed me the strategy. He was like, yeah, but you're doing it on some speculative growth stock at like $10. I'm like, yeah, but if it goes up, I'm gonna be rich.
I was like, and the funny thing is, you told me like the strikes, and I'm like looking, I was like, wait a second, this is like fucking like $10 right now, and the strikes that you got
Like
are like
25.
way higher, and the cost. But the one thing that I really liked was like you only paid like per contract, like what is it, 15 cents or 20 cents? I was like, oh, that's fucking cheap. All right, whatever, you know. So it worked out. It worked out. And it's the same thing with a lot of the spread positions that I have on stuff. It's done well for a lot of people. So I'm hoping that people understand how call debit spreads work, because they really are. Like one of the, did you notice that about Robinhood yesterday? One of the things that they have on
Yeah.
there was debit spreads.
Yeah. Yep.
You
Good
know,
strategy for life.
they're a great way to kind of, I wouldn't say reduce risk, but let you lever something, especially if you're super long on it. But there are little intricacies that you need to understand, like volume. You need to make sure that there's ample liquidity so you're not getting killed on the bid and ask. You know, so even if you're bullish on a company, the spread may not make sense. Where versus other times where things have mean reversion potential with a lot of volume, that tends to be a lot better opportunity. So there's little intricacies and nuances that are there with option strategies. But if you get it right and you time it right, you know, you could do very well without taking as much of the risk that you'd have to do with just buying things naked or selling things naked.
Yeah, I agree. It's absolutely incredible stuff. Chris, thank you so much for being a friend and mentor. Hopefully you're enjoying your birthday here in Vegas. I'll see you in a couple hours. And yeah, thank you for being back on the show.
Wake Tanner's ass up. Be like, yo, get on stream.
No, he's legit gonna get me. He was like, if you interrupt, he was so yesterday. So it was getting late, and someone like came up to me and came up to him, and the guy was talking to me, and then he looks at Tanner, and he takes one look at Tanner. He's like, you seem like a really serious guy. And I start dying, and Tanner's like, I'm not serious. I'm just so tired. And I'm like, Tanner, you're in Vegas for like 2 days. Like, you can sleep later. Like, but he needs.
Yo, this is how Canadians are, man. Canadians are too freaking relaxed with everything. They're like, I need my beauty sleep, blah, blah, blah. Us Americans, we're about hustle, hustle, hustle. Let's go all the time, you know?
Yeah, we're literally having dinner with a freaking billionaire for 3 hours last night.
Great guy, by the way. Great guy. Amazing dude.
Triple B was awesome. And then we're on the Uber back home, and Tanner was like, man, I feel like that dinner should have ended earlier. I'm like, Tanner, how many times do you have dinner with a multi-billionaire in Vegas? Like, you're talking about, I needed to end earlier so you could go to sleep. I'm like, goodness gracious, bro. You need some American hustle in this Canadian.
I know. That was funny. Like when we were leaving, he's like, yeah, I'm really happy with my life. And I was like, as happy as you can be living in Canada. And everyone just busted out laughing. Later, dude. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. And thanks for Amit and the community, especially the guys who reached out to me yesterday. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to meeting some of you guys today while we're still in Vegas.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
All right, guys, let's get back to Vlad on CNBC.
Product velocity that we saw last night is just an example of how much work we've done, but also how much work there remains to be done.
Okay, so I was on my Robinhood account this morning, and I did not see the social. Of course, I saw all the other great things, but am I just not looking at it right, or is it not out yet for regular people?
Yeah, so we announced, I want to say, not 9 products last night, also 2 more that our customers requested, and we had a live poll actually at the event that asked customers what they wanted to see us build next, which is the first time anyone's done that, to my knowledge. So not all of them are available same day. Some of them are, but social will actually be going live to customers early next year. So it was a little bit of a preview of what's to come.
Oh, good. I thought I didn't know how to navigate the site. I appreciate that. Let's talk about gambling. Let's talk about predictive. If I want one site for my capital, and I really do, I happen to like DraftKings very much, and I do daily fantasy with my kids stuff. But can I have everything on my Robinhood?
You can have many things. Prediction markets, as you mentioned, is one of the new exciting things that Robinhood is leading in. And you have a bunch of different events that you can trade if you're a trader. You can also use the prediction markets as a source of information for what traders are doing and where we think the world is going to go. For example, you've got CPI coming in later this week. We know we had producer price index coming in a little bit earlier, but there's actually markets on how many Fed rate cuts are anticipated in September or through the end of the year. And we also have prediction markets on the consumer price index, which I think is a valuable source of macro information as well.
Now, I did want to ask you about migration from crypto. I know that you and I have talked periodically. We talked before you even had your app, which I think is so good. But I've always felt that I wanted people to go in for crypto, even go in for options, even go in for 0-day, but then maybe gravitate and do more traditional investing along with that. Are you seeing that, or are people that are, because you're known, of course, as being crypto, which, by the way, I love and don't think is a negative at all. But I do want to see people also do a little bit more of a conservative side going with crypto. Are you seeing that yet?
So here's the interesting thing. A lot of people do think that there's a lot of folks initially think that there's a migration. Maybe someone comes in as a trader and then eventually goes into more passive retirement or index funds. But what actually happens, what we've been seeing among our most...
Broadcom up 8%, folks. My goodness, 362, 1.7 trillion. Broadcom is close to a $2 trillion company. The only $2 trillion companies are really the hyperscalers. Broadcom's not really part of the Max 7, but I mean, it looks like it might have a shot to get in there.
Engaged customers is they come in through trading and they end up opening a bunch of accounts. And one of the new features that has been very requested by customers is actually having multiple individual accounts. So we released that yesterday. Now you can have up to 10 individual brokerage accounts in addition to your retirement and of course the joint accounts. So what we end up seeing is our most active customers are opening up a lot of accounts, and they not only do their active trading, but they also have the retirement. They also open up a joint account, but it's not like they migrate. They just bring more and more of their wallet to us. And I think that's what we consider a healthy customer relationship. We should really just be helping you with all of your financial needs. And banking is coming soon. I know a lot of people are excited about that. So we think we're close to being able to help you with your entire financial life, if not already there for most people.
Well, I got to tell you, before I hand it off to the others, that I'm always amazed. I mean, for instance, your transparency in these new products is fantastic. I'm always amazed about how you're not one step ahead, but maybe 10 steps ahead of the so-called posse. The other firms just seem to not understand younger people. You do. The gulf between them and you just continues to grow. Aren't you surprised that no one even imitates you? And yet it is so electric for people who are between the ages of 21 and 30.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages we have over incumbents, and the incumbents in our space have a lot going for them, but they're not exactly magnets for amazing talent, particularly in product and software engineering. I think the benefit we had from setting up the company in Silicon Valley and being headquartered there and recruiting out of places like Stanford, MIT, just the top engineering programs is, if you're the top engineer, we're competing with the AI companies. We're not competing with the discount brokerages. And I think really product velocity, business results are downstream of the great talent that we've been able to cultivate across all levels at Robinhood.
Hey, Vlad, we spend a lot of time on this program talking about the split in the country between Americans who own assets and those who don't. And I'm wondering... we
got a headline. Netflix and Amazon ads announce new partnership to boost advertising opportunities. By the way, BitMine, she is breaking out, up 9% on the day. Netflix is flat. Amazon also is flat. Actually, Amazon's down about 2%. Netflix and Amazon. Looks like they are both getting into the advertising space together.
Given some of the pressures we keep hearing about at the low end, if you think that kind of customer acquisition, not stealing share, but bringing new people into equities, for example, or even crypto, is that going to get more challenging?
I think it's going to become more important. You guys probably have seen the Invest America initiative that Robinhood's been a part of and encouraging. We were at the White House a couple of months for the unveiling of that. It was part of the budget reconciliation bill, and that's going to give every newborn child $1,000 jump-started by the federal government into a brokerage account. I think as we talk about AI disrupting the labor market, really there's going to be a lot of change, and I think what that's going to make is just a bigger need for everyone to be owners in our economy. And I think that needs to be encouraged at all levels, starting from literally newborns to adults. And
Yeah.
I view it as Robinhood's mission to actually encourage that, to make sure we navigate this transition to an economy that AI drives a huge part of as well as possible. I think that's going to be very, very important for us. And I think we're going to have to continue to do more to encourage stock ownership.
Yeah, especially because people may not have jobs. You know, speaking of stock ownership, your investors got to be very happy. I can't help but look at the more than 500% gain in your stock price. Are you stunned by what's happened this year to your stock, Vlad?
Well, you know what they say, the score takes care of itself. I think we're just focused on the fundamentals of the business. We want to build as good of a company as possible. We look at ourselves and we just see so many ways where we could be just doing better, executing better. So, you know, we think there's a lot to do. We're certainly not resting on our laurels or really looking at the stock price as validation.
All right, so Vlad, one last question because you're at your conference. Are you detecting a level of optimism that is actually, I find, not in sync with a lot of people in the country, meaning people who really feel like, you know what, I have a shot at getting rich and I'm doing it?
I think we see our customers think about it a little bit differently. I mean, our customers, particularly the ones here, understand stock ownership, understand equity. They're investing in companies that they believe in. If you look at our portfolios, they tend to be concentrated in these frontier industries like artificial intelligence, you know, electric vehicles that have been doing particularly well in the past 12 months or several years. So there's definitely optimism here, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily evenly distributed. There's still, you know, double-digit percentage of Americans that don't own stock, and we'd like people to own more. I think that's going to be more and more important. So the job's really never done. If you look at high net worth individuals, the overwhelming high percentage of their resources comes from stock ownership. So I think there's more that needs to be done to encourage it at lower income levels.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Congratulations on all your success. I remember.
All right, that's what we got with Mr. Vlad. We're getting a decent amount of momentum. Again, the stock right here trying to get to 122, 121.58. BMNR, she's having a little bit of breakout. I think this is because of ETH, right? 48.10 up 7.85% on the day, closing above 46.47. I think would be bullish because it's kind of been stuck in that 44, 45 range for the past couple of, well, yeah, basically past 2 weeks now. Ethereum right there, 4,400. Why is Ethereum running? PPI came in better than expected. PPI better than expected means we're likely getting more rates. We get more rate cuts. You're going to have more capital that gets allocated into risk-on assets. Ethereum and Bitcoin are more risk-on. Google, by the way, all-time highs, baby, 241. Just like Chris was saying about why the hyperscalers are catching a bid off these Oracle numbers. It's quite incredible. It really is incredible. Again, Google was at 150 2 months ago. It's at 240 now. That has really helped the S&P 500. It's made a lot of wealth for a lot of people over the past couple of months. Bitcoin breaking 114 for the first time in a couple of weeks. Nice to see Bitcoin getting some love. Reddit was at 250 right now, 247. Grab right here at 529. Google again, 240. AMD, 160. Tesla, 134. NVIDIA trying to crack 178. Oracle, are we still at 330? Oracle is at 335. Still holding. People are buying shares even though they're up 40% on the day. And the market is continuing to believe that this is one of the most exciting stories based on those earnings in AI. The funny thing about Oracle, too, is they missed on EPS and revenue estimates. Like, it was a double miss. But it was rather inconsequential because the guidance they gave was so monumental in regards to broader RPO growth that it was just hard for the street to ignore. And as a result, The stock's up 40%. Where is SBET? We didn't look at that one today. SBET is still below NAV. If I'm not wrong, NAV is like, what, 18, 19? So you got SBET still below NAV. It's going to be hard to dilute below NAV. Bitmine is getting, what, a 1.4 premium now, I think, roundabout? I think it was 1.2 a couple days ago. Now it's 1.4. It's a relatively healthy premium that it's getting, whereas SBET not getting the same momentum. Nebius, it was down in the morning. That one had a pivot. That one's now up 1.28%, even with the offering, which means the offering people just did not care that much about. And it's hard to care about it when Microsoft's giving you $20 billion over 5 years. And then Rocket Lab, pretty much flat on the day at 46.65, not having that big of a move. All right, folks, let's get someone onto the channel who can help us explain a little bit more about what's going on with Oracle, Google, and what to make sense of this AI revolution. Jose, good morning.
Good morning, man. You get a new apartment and you're barely there?
Yeah, basically.
Nah.
Dude,
man, this
how do you explain this? Up 40% of the day. What are you thinking?
crazy. I mean, that RPO was insane. 359% growth from 100 and something billion to 455. And they mentioned over the next months, they're going to sign a few more contracts, and they believe it's going to be $500 billion of RPO. That is insane. Now, I was on here a few days ago, and with the Nebius news, I was obviously excited because it kind of showed about the AI infrastructure market. But I did mention I was very, very heavy in CoreWeave, and today CoreWeave is having a great day. The stock is up nearly 16-17%, I believe, after some of this excitement. And so now I get to be really excited. I was a little bit humbled last time with Nebius, but with CoreWeave here, I'm pretty excited here. But it just tells us that if you need this type of RPO, right, 465 billion, the probability that Oracle needs to go with these co-locations, either being your Nebius, either being your CoreWeave, or some of these other players, is highly likely. And I think that's what the market is expecting, because right now we are compute constrained, which is a mixture of obviously power and obviously chips, mainly power. But it does kind of build this overall great sentiment for long-term investments in the AI thesis. So RPO, they mentioned they have all big players, XAI, OpenAI, all these great companies, and it's a mixture of training, it's a mixture of inference, and both are going to do well in the upcoming years.
So I'm seeing a lot of people say some of these Oracle numbers are BS, right? Or that it can't be that real, or that giving 4-year guidance is like a way to just pump the stock. How are you reconciling the results they put out and the sort of like shadiness that people have about these results?
I mean, I think it's always good to question. I think you should never take values to a truth, right? You have to question. You can't just follow blindly. At least now what we can do as investors, right, is they gave us the guidance for this fiscal year, for next fiscal year, for the next 4 or 5 fiscal years. They gave us those numbers. So as an investor, now we have to be smart. And every time they report earnings, just a quick math to make sure they're following that trend line that they gave us. So at least now we have a real baseline to see this growth, and we can say, oh, look, it's actually performing even better than this baseline. So I think it's great to question it. Now with question it, you just have to verify it. No one can tell you if these numbers are truth or false. Only time will be able to tell us. And with them giving us this number, we can create the baseline. 18 billion on infrastructure this quarter, this year. They say 32 billion, I think, next year, 74 the year after. So at least now we get the ability to say, look, these are the numbers you gave us. If you're missing out on this, something wrong is happening. Where did you fluff? But at least now with this baseline, I think investors have a really great opportunity to make sure things are heading in the right direction.
Does the RPO growth mean that the hyperscalers kind of have to show elevated levels of cloud growth as well? Otherwise, Oracle can't show 350% RPO growth?
I think so. I mean, and we're definitely seeing it. I mean, I think for the first time this quarter in the previous earnings, in this past earnings that happened a few months ago with some of these cloud service providers, they gave us some of those RPO numbers or backlog numbers. I'm going to have to go back. I haven't done it yet because I've been so excited with this Oracle news, but I want to go back and look at what they gave us for at least what they have in backlog. But one thing we've heard from all of them though, right, is if they had more compute, they would be able to get more revenue. It's not that they don't. It's not the demand. It's not that they're demand light. They're equipment light at the moment. And then we just saw the Microsoft deal just on Monday with Nebius. It kind of continues to solidify that. Why is Microsoft making a multi-billion-dollar deal on AI infrastructure? The main reason is they need more compute to be able to meet up with this crazy RPO or backlog that all these players have.
Why is this necessarily the best for CoreWeave?
I don't for CoreWeave. I think there's two things that are happening right now. First, Nebius obviously got a nice stock pump. I don't know if I want to call it a pump, but they got that stock price raise due to that great deal with Microsoft. Right. I think the market is now expecting, if you have this type of RPO with anybody out there, like Oracle, you're going to want to make deals with that with other players. CoreWeave has a massive AI infrastructure. So that's the first thing. I think the market just believes we're going to see more deals with CoreWeave, similar to with what we saw with Nebius. The second thing is Oracle has a huge partnership with OpenAI for their Stargate project. OpenAI also has a strong partnership with CoreWeave. So there could be some maybe market sentiment that's saying, look, if OpenAI and Oracle have a partnership, if OpenAI and CoreWeave have a partnership, is that going to make it easier for CoreWeave and Oracle to have a partnership? And the final thing, I think there is a third thing. Today, Nebius announced that they are increasing cash. They're doing it in two ways. They're building 1 billion in dilution of shares, and they're doing 2 billion in debt. One of the biggest theses that was between CoreWeave and Nebius was Nebius had a way better balance sheet. If you watch my videos, and quick promotion here on my channel, if you watch my videos, one of the things I mentioned is Nebius was going to start to look like CoreWeave pretty soon. Their debt was going to start to increase. And now you can't argue that CoreWeave's debt is bad. If Nebius, a company that was so highly looked on upon because of that clean balance sheet, is now also building that debt dramatically. They had a $0 in debt 2 quarters ago. Theoretically, with this, they jumped 1 billion last quarter and now an extra 2 billion. So now their debt increased to $3 billion in less than 2 quarters. So it gives you, I guess, an understanding of how the dynamics of this market is. So maybe the market is looking, look, CoreWeave's debt might not be as bad as some of the bearish theses were back then. So I think that was I think those three things could be creating a nice momentum, and then just overall AI crazy RPO.
Yeah, and there's Jose's YouTube. Everybody in the chat, so you can subscribe to that. I'm also putting his Twitter right there in the chat. Jose, does Nebius 20 billion, Oracle RPO, Google Cloud projections of like 58 billion I saw yesterday over the next 5 years, does this all prove that it's still early in this revolution?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think Larry mentioned it yesterday that you still have to, inference is still going to be a major market, and that's where we expect a lot of this compute to be used. And inference in various things, autonomous vehicles, robotics in the industrial space, the healthcare market, drug discovery, the list goes on. So I think we're still up in early innings. Now, I am a long-term bull, but I understand short-term, a lot of volatility can come. So a lot of these stocks, I do believe, can give us crazy pullbacks. In the long term, though, the trend, in my opinion, is still pretty exciting. I think we're still in early innings. I mean, we've heard from NVIDIA, massive CapEx expected over the next few years. We see crazy demand. Microsoft showing all these deals. It shows to me that the AI market is still very early. And I hope we're more than just chatbots, right? It has to be, I need my robotic AI chef in the kitchen pretty soon. And hopefully CoreWeave is going to help me buy a robotics AI chef in the kitchen, or a few.
Are you at all getting scared of valuations here? Or you think like Broadcom, I mean, it's up another 10%. It's almost at 2 trillion. Does that, you look back and be like, I don't know? Or do you think with rates coming down and their growth and AI, it's hard to deny it?
I think it's definitely different. For every company, you might get some excitement. I think there's definitely some semiconductor plays that I personally don't follow too closely, so I might consider them a little bit of a bubble. Maybe if I understood them a little bit more, I would change my thesis. For NVIDIA, I don't think so. For CoreWeave, I don't think so. For Nebius, I don't think so. Broadcom, the ASIC market is definitely pretty big. They're winning big. I don't know. I wouldn't be buying at these levels if it was for Broadcom. But TSMC also just reported their monthly numbers today, and we saw, I think, a 35% year-over-year growth on chip sales. And this is still where we still haven't had an AI consumer product. This is all still based on cloud-based. You don't have no robots. You have FSD, but it's very limited. I mean, to people who buy Tesla, right? You don't have full autonomous fleets all over the world. I'm short term, I'm always worried about a pullback, but long term, I believe for me, long term, I'd rather sit on my hands and let these positions play out. If it pulls back, I throw more cash into my portfolio. If they run up, I just stay happy, take pictures, and send it to my wife and say, "We're rich, baby."
I love it. Jose, this is awesome. Congrats to you. I mean, you've been screaming about AI CapEx data centers for the past 4 or 5 years now. And the thesis is playing out. What the Chip happened, that is his newsletter. So you can subscribe to that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I always hope I provide some value to your viewers. I had fun. I was the substitute teacher again yesterday, I think.
Oh yeah, how did you enjoy? Someone said you called them refugees or something.
Yeah, that's what they called themselves. So I accepted what they wanted to call themselves. So they were the refugees I had yesterday, which was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. They had me laughing the whole time.
I imagine they kept you longer on the stream too. They let you leave as early as you wanted to leave.
Definitely. Oh man, I'm reading the comments. I don't know how you do it. I'm reading the comments. These guys and gals are hilarious.
It's the best channel on YouTube, and if they go to a different channel, they'll bring the same energy. And you just got to be ready to be like, okay, I'll deal with this. So,
all right, but yeah, I mean,
thank you, Jose. Appreciate it. See you next time. Bye bye.
Take care.
Guys called yourselves the refugees on his channel, bro. That is hilarious. Folks, we're moving. Hoodie. Let me check resistance at 130. It is not there yet. Or sorry, 123, not 130. My mind's already going to 130. Nvidia 178. Broadcom again up 10%. Oracle not slowing down. BMNR doing its thing. I mean, it is exciting. 123 is 12,000 shares. 12,000 shares. Now, for those that are in covered calls in BMNR, so there's two kind of things you have to think about. Number one is, do you think it's a full-on breakout where your strike? So let's say you had, I don't know, $50 covered calls for this week. I wouldn't be that scared or quick to roll it yet, because the thing about BMNR, just from my, I guess, 3 weeks of observing this ticker more intimately, it goes up and it goes down. Right. And it's not like earnings momentum like Oracle that is a trajectory that's straight up. If Ethereum goes down tomorrow $200, Bitmine's probably going back to 44. So it's one of those things where either there's a full-on breakout happening and you believe that, which means you roll the calls. Roll them a couple months, get to a higher strike. And the strike, the way you select it is where do you feel comfortable selling it at? So if you're at 50 and you feel comfortable selling it at 70, or you just think BMNR is unlikely to get to 70, you roll it out to 70. If you think, look, I know it's pushing up 9% on the day, but the odd that it's going to do another 9% tomorrow, another 9% next week is low because it's very volatile. Then I'm going to keep my $50 strike. Maybe I go to 52, 53. Maybe I keep it at 50, 51, and I just roll it for the next week or roll it for the next month and keep it at the same strike. So I think it's about where you think the price action goes. The way I'm leaning towards is that I don't know if it's a full-on breakout. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, but that requires Ethereum to make a broader move. And once we see that, then it'll be obvious. But so far, Ethereum hasn't made that broader move yet. And if we do, then it'll make more sense. But as of now, I think it's more so a reaction to rate cuts, a reaction to Ethereum going from 42 to 44. But does Ethereum go from 44 to 49 like it did 3 weeks ago? I don't know. We have to see. And that will kind of determine what's going on with Bitmine. Robinhood, did we touch 123? We touched it. Wow. We touched it for a second. For a quick second, 123. So those 12,000 shares, those are now gone. I'm looking at resistance. Those 12,000 shares are gone. It was a very quick 123, and then it got rejected. So let's see if it can kind of get back there. Oh, look at who woke up. Look at who woke up.
Good morning.
Take a seat, buddy. We've been waiting for you.
I just woke up.
It's been a minute.
Jeez, yeah, I'm looking like a disaster. But hey, guys,
Dude, hoodie. She's moving.
crazy. Everything's, dude. I was watching a little bit of the stream. Everything's moving right now. It's insane. AI is on top of the world. It's crazy. Oracle.
40% in the day. 40%.
That's
Tanner.
unbelievable.
Shout out to Chad. What did I just tune in?
Honestly, though, this is so bullish for NVIDIA, and no one is thinking
Why?
about that right now.
Why is it bullish for NVIDIA?
Well, they make the best chips, and if energy is the bottleneck for artificial intelligence, or sorry, not for art. I just woke up, bro.
Yeah, you told us 5 times.
I know.
Do you want some milk and cookies? Do you want do you need some breakfast? Do we need to, before we continue the show, do you need some orange juice?
I just wanted to come say hi. He said I wasn't gonna make it on, so I was like, you know what?
I am happy you made it, dude. I didn't think it's 7:30. I thought you'd stay sleeping. When did you fall asleep immediately when we came?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, essentially, if there's only so much energy that these companies can get their hands on, then they're going to need the best chips that have the best performance per watt.
Yeah.
And that's NVIDIA, bar none. It's not even close. They continue to excel on benchmarks and show off that they're the best chip by far. And then they're showing off updates like Vera Rubin is coming next. So I'm super stoked. But did you give them any highlights about the day yesterday?
Yeah. So I mean, what was your reaction to the event? We had Chris on, actually. He called in and he talked about some of the stuff. But what was it like? You were at the first summit in Miami. Yeah. I guess what was the difference between that one and this one?
A lot more people. I think they doubled the audience. I think they really wanted to show up and show out this time. So the product announcements were crazy. We were really not expecting much. I mean, maybe shorting, something like this, which, by the way, we need to talk about because I don't know if you had spoke about that.
I didn't speak too much about that.
Okay. But they ended up showing a lot of products. And I think the individual accounts, shorting, these sort of things is what's going to bring in, real dollar amounts. And that's what it matters. That's what matters. If Chris Patel before was hesitant on switching or only switched some over because there was only one account that was available, having multiple accounts will make multiple people switch over. Like we were even seeing, I think Stephen Quirk talked about this, but I was hearing the exact same experiences that someone would have a Webull account, they'd have a Robinhood account. They'd separate their investing strategies. Man, my hair is a disaster. Whatever.
Such a Canadian, yet. Bro.
I'm just looking at myself and I look like an idiot.
No, I know, dude. But the event itself. Before we get into the features, let's talk about the vibe. How was the vibe of the event?
I mean, they got in the S&P 500 and we felt it.
Yeah.
They were on top of the world. There's no one second, and they made that apparent during the shorting thing, because in the live stream, which some people missed, that if you look at the stock that they ended up showing off that they were shorting, it was SoFi. They were shorting SoFi on their live stream that went out to, their millions of customers.
Did you think they were just having fun with this, or why do you think they?
I mean, bro, so? I don't know. I think people got confused because they thought it was like some made up ticker MK.
Yeah.
But it was that's just the order type.
I didn't believe it. Then I saw the price. I was like, that looks really similar.
Yeah, go back to the other one. Zoom it.
And then there you go.
It's so fun. Boom.
Yeah, Vlad also on the social feed, it said Vlad bought a share of Open Door, and the whole Open Door community is like, Vlad loves Open Door. And I'm like, okay. That's
he said another company, I think it was SMR. He was hyping up SMR.
New Scale Power. Yeah. Okay, so what was the most exciting feature between multiple accounts, shorting, the social stuff that you liked from what we saw yesterday?
I think probably just shorting. I mean, maybe that's a cop-out answer, but I'm looking for things that lead to more revenue streams. And that's going to be a new customer type. That's going to be people in more diversified, account types, and they're going to charge. So shorting probably for me was just the number one bet, because that's going to lead. There's going to be a new line item of not just equities, but split between long and short. Yeah.
Do you think the social Robinhood, again, we touched 123, but we haven't got back above it. Do you think the social product is going to be a big game changer for them?
For them, I don't know. I think it will be used 100%. I think the sharing to X will be used often, because then it's almost like a blockchain or a blue check mark to say, hey, you can click through to this link and verify that this trade had happened.
Yeah.
That I think is nice. I don't think people are going to sit on their platform and comment and everything like this. I don't know if people want a social media that's purely finance.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about anything else. Like, X can kind of break that up and you can mix in what you want to see. Or if you just want to see finance content, you can cater it that way. Webull tried this, SoFi tried this. There's so many other companies that try this. They get no attention. Like, I don't know if you guys are spending your time in Yahoo Finance comment sections, but I'm not. Yeah.
I think it can be successful. If anyone were to make it successful, it's Hood. I don't know if it's the game changer for them, but even if they get a couple million people that are like actively on it every day, it makes it more sticky. The question is, does it turn into tens of millions of people posting content? I don't know. We have to see if that ends up playing out.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that you can verify trades and they're going to end up showing off whale tracking and stuff like this, those features I think are cool, and people will use those instead of other products. So they'll end up showing off the whale tracker screenshots, which only just boosts their, the amount of people that end up seeing Robinhood screenshots. It boosts the, people's unaided brand awareness just because, naturally.
Yeah. It's a stepping stone for copy trading, 100%. Like, there's a lot of these apps that are dedicated to copying Pelosi. I kind of think those apps are done if Hood really does this the right way. And so it might not be as relevant.
eToro has a copy trading tool as well, but there's no revenue split or something like this that other services have.
I just don't want it to become like StockTwits, which is a bit more of a toxic platform. And I think there's ways that they can make the content not be so rooted in just the toxicity of the internet that you get on social networks. I don't know how they're going to do it, but if any company could do it, I think it would be Hood.
Did you say anything else of what happened?
Yeah, we talked about the dinner. We talked about the guy who called you serious.
Yeah.
Tanner was like, I'm just tired. I was like, Tanner, you can sleep when you're dead. You don't have to be tired. But how did it feel resonating with all the fans?
Hold on a second. This guy's a sicko. We're here for multiple days, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I need to get some sleep. He honestly said, and you believe it wholeheartedly. I know you do. He said, you can sleep when you get back to Canada. I was like, that's not how sleep works. I can't bank it all up. But we had ended the night at the same time. You're up at 5 again after I don't know.
Let me tell you, I woke up this morning. I did not want it. The thought in my mind that there was a devil on my shoulder saying, just go to bed, bro. It's not that serious. They'll understand you were tired. And then the angel on my other shoulder, when I was talking to Triple V last night, What did he say? He's like, I've never taken a day off in 35 years. He said he left his honeymoon early because he had to finish work.
Yeah.
And he was already rich by then. There's a level of work ethic that at some point becomes spiritual, and you just don't let it take away from you. And Vlad has that spiritual work ethic. 123 on Hoodie, baby.
It's friggin'. This guy doesn't even drink coffee. I don't know where he finds this. It's insane.
It's just the energy that's there.
Dude, I'm really starting to believe, where is Hood going to find its end? I mean, I would have thought 123, and it still is expensive, but is 250 out of the question, honestly? Because they're going to have another event that they just put out for artificial intelligence.
Yeah, they're having an AI event in December, bro.
Yeah. Then they're going to do 3 to 4 of them next year as well, which they're probably then going to show off 3 to 4 new products. They're going to be getting into crypto, tokenization, adding all the products that people ask for, where they say, hey, this would be a great quality of life product, or can you add this specific order type, dividend track, all of these things that they end up putting out. And every time that they do that, I think it converts more and more users. The users that are already there, the Chris Patels of the world, who are Robinhood users but are not heavily Robinhood users, are going to end up expanding their amount of their portfolio by, they could bring in 80% more or 5x their portfolio, depending on how many, different accounts accounts that they end up having. So like the growth here is nowhere close to being done. The average account balance, I think, is like less than 10,000. Schwab is like 300,000. Like, it's insane.
By the way, shout out to Falling Knife. Thank you for the $200 super chat. He bought, I think, 15,000 shares of Hood at $100. So he's not doing too bad on that. What were the vibes like at the event itself and just walking and meeting people? How did that feel from last year to this year?
Yeah, I mean, the vibes are incredible. The people there are not just the Robinhood employees, but they're all hyped up as well. I mean, we got to meet some of them, and they're all very excited. But also, we asked them about S&P 500. They didn't seem like too enthusiastic. They were just sort of.
A lot of them didn't even know it happened until they got like a Slack message. Like a lot of them were just so busy working. They're like, oh yeah, we got into the S&P.
Yeah, and then they're like, all right, next day, let's continue working.
I texted one of the Robinhood employees, I told you guys this, who worked on the podcast. He does the audio video stuff, and he like set up that whole Vlad podcast back in March of 2024. And I texted him like on Saturday. I was like, bro, congrats on the S&P. And he was like, oh, thanks. I was like, how do you feel? He's like, well, you're letting me know for the first time. I was like, dude, what? He was like, yeah, dude, I have 2 kids. I've been busy. I didn't know. I was like, you got into the S&P, So
yeah, we were asking about that. I was like, do you guys find out early, or like when do you find out? They said we found out when you found out. And I was like,
Vlad was watching the stream
crazy
when I was at the park, so they found out.
And he was using Weeble.
Yeah.
They noticed.
They noticed. His assistant was like, we noticed you were using a separate product other than ours, which was, oh wow, it's a party.
Here.
It's a full-on party.
You take my seat. I'm gonna go back to bed.
Okay.
All right, bye, Tanner. Later.
Peace out, guys.
Look at this guy. What's up, man?
Hey guys. Hey Amit, how are you?
How you doing, bro?
Tired.
Did you see the stock?
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw the very beginning of the open, and that's incredible. All-time high. Doesn't feel expensive.
Dude, 123. This thing was 97 last week. I mean, pretty incredible. How was the event? How'd you enjoy it?
It's really good. I mean, like every single time they always surprise us. This time I think you had said it, maybe Tanner as well. Like we really didn't have any idea. Like we never have an idea. We just have a hunch. And this time it's just like, okay, this is entirely different. Like the vibe coding stuff with Cortex is really cool too.
Yep.
A lot of neat products. It'll take some time to digest, but yeah, the market doesn't need any time. Like you saw those upgrades and everything. So,
what was your favorite product that was out at the event?
So it's really niche, and it's not going to be like I think most people's favorite product. But I actually really liked the tie-in from Robinhood to the actual app. Like right there, it's just like for content creation, there's a lot of stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, I can absolutely use that for. But I also really like the Cortex stuff, just like the screener specifically. I could see myself using that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So overnight options also very cool. So yeah. Social we'll have to see, but
social is a mixed bag. Everyone's a little mixed on if social is going to be a winner or not.
I think it will be, but maybe not in the way most people think. But I'm going to save that for Tech Bros Weekly.
Okay, we'll talk about that on Tech Bros Weekly. How was the general vibes? Meeting people, a lot of people recognize you. Like it must have been different from Miami a year and a half ago.
It's a little different. I had some people recognize me even when I wasn't standing right next to you, because usually it was like, "Hey, Amit, hey Tanner, hey, that's Roy, right?" So that's been fun. I got to meet some people that we saw at previous Robinhood events. And some new people as well. So it's been really cool. If you guys are here, if anyone's here, be sure to say hi. I'd love to meet you, shake your hand. So
I love it. Ben, thanks for the $10. Hood season, job's not done. Dougie, thank you for the 5 gifted. Quan Tess, thank you for the 5 gifted. All 3 of those, Doug, Tess, and Benny, have been in Hood for a minute now. So congratulations to all you guys, and thank you for the memberships as well. Yeah, dude, it was exciting. It was a fun event. This is day 2. This is going to be more like sessions driven. So if anyone's there and you see me, say hi. And if you see Roy, we're all going to be in different sessions. And then I think there's a reception at the end of the day. And then Roy and I are on a red eye at 11 p.m. Tonight back to New York, because we have another thing tomorrow that we have to go to. So yeah, that'll be fun. Do you have a middle seat or a window seat?
I'm sitting right next to you. So Amit is not the biggest dude. And I'm like, hey, I know where he's sitting. There's only middle seats left. I'm going to sit by a guy that's not real big. So
perfect. There we go. I will sit next
I also like sitting by him and talking to him. But like that body size arbitrage is a thing, guys. So
there you go. There you go. All right, guys. I think that is it. Thank you all for being here. My laptop's about to die as we speak. It was exciting. It was a fun event. Yes, I can. Dude, I had to pee so bad for 6 hours, and there was two older people. Like they were at least they were probably 70 years old, bro. They were knocked out. You think I was gonna ask them to wake up for me to relieve my bladder? No way. That is not the humane thing to do. I am sorry. It's not the humane thing to do. So for 6 hours, I shut my mouth and I made sure the people next to me had a good flight. So it is what it is. That's how
I woke him up. You can wake me up on the flight.
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll make sure to wake up Roy for sure. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. It was a fun event. I'm happy we got to see each other. How's the dinner with Triple V?
Oh, it was amazing. The conversation was great. Food was great. The vibe was great. Yeah, just it's one of the highlights, clearly.
Yeah, and I think there was valuable lessons just from like his journey, his life, all that stuff that we all got to get. If you do not follow Roy, let me put in his YouTube right here in the chat. You can subscribe to him on YouTube. I'll also put in Tanner in a second. And yeah, we'll be live on Monday next week to recap everything from the event, and we'll keep going from there. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Word of the day is hoodie. Word of the day has to be hoodie, bro. 123 S&P 500, generational company, generational founder, and very, very excited that this entire community got to be together to go on this journey. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.